Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we're going to be continuing our lists of the best 2D platformers available on the Nintendo Switch. However, today we will be changing price brackets. So we're done with the price brackets of games under $10. If you want to check those lists out, by the way, I'll be linking them up above. But today we're moving to the price bracket of between $30 and $10. Now I've got to tell you that this is probably one of the most competitive brackets for these type of games on the Nintendo Switch. So competitive actually that rather than doing a top 20 games, I'm going to be doing a top 30 games. There were so many good 2D platformers in this price bracket that before I started the ranking process, I had almost 60 games on my list. So there was no way I could cut it down beyond 30. Now today we'll be starting from the top, so we're going from number 30 to number 21 in today's list. Keep in mind that the prices I use to rank them in this category are not sale prices. It has to be their regular listed price that is between $10 and $30. Also, ultimately, I decided to combine the Metroidvanias with the standard 2D platformers, simply because ultimately, Metroidvanias are a subcategory of platformer, and at the same time, the line was too blurry in some instances whether it should be a platformer or a Metroidvania. But if ever at the end time permits, we might do a secondary list really singling out the clear-cut Metroidvanias and my ranking of just those games alone. Now, one last thing before we get started, don't forget that if you like these lists and you want to see more, the best way to support the channel is to hit the like button and subscribe if you aren't already. So first on our list at number 30, we have the Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2 Deluxe. This is a package that I was waiting to be re-released last year and that I was really excited to get. And honestly, these are reworkings of the first two games. So if you've played the original versions, this deluxe pack is still worth picking up and experiencing because they did a lot of fine tuning to make the games all that better. And obviously, since I grew up watching The Angry Video Game Nerd, a bunch of my love for this pack is the references to the show that are even better placed now in the reworked versions. And honestly, on top of that, the platforming and the gameplay is really solid. Also added new to these collections are easier game modes. So if the old games were just too difficult because yes, they were hardcore, really difficult action platformers, well, this collection is actually something to try out because there are easier game modes. However, I will warn you that even the easiest game modes will be hard for a lot of people. However, nonetheless, at number 30, this game collection had to be on my list. So now at number 29, we actually have our first Metroidvania on the list, and that will be Guacamelee 2, the Complete Edition. Now, this game is normally $22.49, which is why it's on the list at this price point. However, as you can see, all these games do normally go on sale as well, as currently Guacamelee 2 is only $8.99. However, even at its full price, Guacamelee 2 is an amazing Metroidvania experience. And what is so original about this game is it's really set in a totally new type of thematic, which is you are playing a luchador and all the combat is melee combat with special moves, wrestling moves thrown in, which is an awesome concept. And contrary to always a dark and dreary background, Guacamelee is a very colorful and lively visual presentation, which is something that is just amazing to see in a Metroidvania. And this is a definite game that I think everyone should give a try. Now at number 28, we have our first collection making the list, and that is the Mega Man Legacy Collection 2. By the way, for a collection to make the list, all the games included on the collection have to be 2D platformers. I'm not taking any mixed collections. Now the Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 is the culmination of Mega Man 7, 8, 9, and 10. And if you're asking my personal opinion, the stars of the show are Mega Man 9 and 10, which were digitally only releases done in the 8-bit style of the original Mega Man games. However, thrown into the pack, you also get 7 and 8, which were later releases on the Super Nintendo and PS1 alike. And nonetheless, all of these games are really seriously awesome 2D platformers, although done in the very traditional Mega Man style. I'm not sure I have to do any more introduction for this game pack because it's sort of self-explanatory. And if you've never played a Mega Man game before, this is maybe not the best entry point, but it is definitely deserving of a place on our list today. So now we move on to number 27. And at 27, I put Shantae, the Half-Genie hero, and I took the Ultimate Edition, which is $29.99 and includes all the DLC. Now, the Shantae series, in my opinion, is a great series, and you'll see they'll be spread out all throughout the list of the top 30 games. Shantae Half-Genie Hero, the reason why it's the lowest on my personal list is because it is the one that did not stick with the original Metroidvania design, and it's maybe the game that, in my opinion, feels the least as a traditional Shantae game. Nonetheless, it does remain a very solid and very pleasing platformer, but at the same time, I think a lot of people were expecting the Shantae series to always stick with that base Metroidvania design, and they were a little bit disappointed with these being linear 2D platforming levels. But at the same time, it is way worth a place on our top 30 games because nonetheless, the visual quality, the gameplay is amazing, and it really deserves its spot on our list of top 30 games. Now at number 26, I placed the original Mega Man Legacy Collection. Now don't worry, I promise you this list won't only be Mega Man collections. This is actually the last Mega Man collection for today. But at number 26, I placed this collection because this is sort of where it all started. The whole jump shoot mechanic pretty much started with Mega Man on the NES, and the Legacy Collection are the 6 original games. So if you ever wanted to experience how Mega Man survived for over 30 years in gaming, well, the answer is here in this collection. The Mega Man Legacy Collection, by the way, of course, some of the games will feel dated. I would say especially Mega Man 1 will feel dated today. However, all the other ones I find stand up very well still today and are amazing experiences if you've never played them. And even for people who've played them back in the day, these are amazing nostalgic experiences. And you see why these games actually survived so long and basically have collections on pretty much every console since the beginning of the NES. And lastly, for only $14.99 to get 6 awesome platformers, I mean, money-wise, this is an amazing deal. Next on the list at number 25, we have Super Meat Boy. Now, if you've never played Super Meat Boy, it is a hardcore, tough as nails platformer. So, fair warning to anyone checking this list out, if you aren't tolerant and aren't willing to try these same levels dozens of times before maybe being able to complete them, Super Meat Boy might not be the game for you. But basically, it's very simple. All you have to do is make it to the exit of the level, and generally Super Meat Boy has to do so by dodging enemies and all types of different obstacles, whether they be saws, whether they be falling in pits and whatnot. Now, the design is uber simple. The presentation is visually very appealing because of the colorful designs, and plus there are some really humorous cutscenes. However, like I said, it does maintain that it's so high on the list just because it is niche. This type of gameplay isn't for everyone because of its difficulty level and dependence on repetition, but at the same time, I do find that this is a game that if you do end up completing it, you will feel extremely satisfied by your accomplishment. So now at number 24, I placed Valfaris, which can be best described as a heavy metal space shooter. Now this game is on the list for multiple reasons. Number one, the visual design of the game is just fantastic. It's hard to feel better shooting at enemies than you do in Valfaris, just because of the over-the-top visuals and also the crazy designs on the enemies. Secondly, the gameplay is very solid and the controls it very well. And on top of it, everything is done to an amazing soundtrack. Like if you want a heart-pounding, really deep soundtrack, Valfaris is a great game for that, and it brings those 3 elements together in an awesome package. Is it the best shooter on the Switch? No, but it is definitely one of the top tiered shooters. And even at its full price of $24.99, this is a game that definitely is worth it. However, it is a game also that regularly comes on sale. So if you wait around regularly and you check out my weekly videos, every time Valfaris is on sale, it pretty much makes my list. So you probably won't have to wait very long. So now we're nearing the top of today's list, but at number 23, I placed Fury Unleashed, which is normally sold for $19.99. However, this is another one of those games that regularly goes on sale, so keep your eyes peeled. Now, Fury Unleashed this time, however, is once again a 2D action shooter, however, with a roguelite design, basically meaning that every time you die, you'll conserve certain of the upgrades you found through each run to eventually get further and further through the game. Warning once again, this is a pretty difficult shooter. However, there are difficulty options available, meaning that you can actually lower the difficulty if you're finding the base one a little bit too difficult. However, at the same time, Fury Unleashed once again has an amazing visual design, this time looking like you're actually playing through a comic book almost. And at the same time, the mechanics and the controls are amazing. I often compare this to a roguelite Contra in my own opinion. Once again, another amazing entry on our top 30 platformers list. Now at 22 for our before last game of today, I placed Mega Man 11. Now, this isn't a collection, so I didn't lie before, this is a standalone game. Now, Mega Man 11 was basically bringing the old design into the new century. Because basically, Mega Man was struggling for quite a few years with connecting with modern audiences in its original format. However, Mega Man went back to basics, although giving those upgrades that everyone would expect from a modern game, basically propelling Mega Man 11 back into the current gen. And I'll be honest, it was a very, very strong success. On top of it, everyone responded well because the game actually sold pretty well on all platforms. And basically, they did this by simply going back to basics on the design, but simply giving small upgrades to the quality of life in the game, like the availability to people that are having difficulty with the stages to actually purchase upgrades for Mega Man to eventually make it to the end of the game. Once again, this is an amazing entry even at its full price of $29.99, but it regularly goes on sale for about 50%. So once again, if you keep your eyes out, this is a game you can maybe pick up for around $15. And at the same time, if you need any more convincing, it actually has a free demo. So if you wanted to try out a Mega Man because you've never played one before, download the demo for this one and see if you won't fall in love with the series. So now we're at the last game for today, and at number 21, I placed another entry from the Shantae series, and that is Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Why is this game so much higher on the list than the previous one? Simple, they conserved the original Metroidvania design that was what made the series, I think, so popular to begin with. Once again, you're playing an amazing shape-shifting zombie. You have to acquire skills to be able to discover all parts of the map through an interconnected world, which is just an amazing gameplay to have in this format. Obviously, the visual design isn't as top-notch as Half-Genie Hero, but I personally will always place gameplay above visual design, and that's why Shantae's Pirate's Curse is our top game for today's list. Now, there are other Shantae games coming further down the list, and your personal preference of which one will be higher than another will be just that, personal preference undoubtedly. But nonetheless, all the entries are amazing, and Shantae and the Pirate's Curse is a definite guaranteed purchase for anyone who loves 2D platformers or Metroidvanias, and at $19.99, even if it's full price, it is nonetheless an amazing purchase. So that's pretty much it for today's list. Now don't forget that this is a weekly series, so over the next 2 weeks we'll be looking at the top 20 2D platformers at this price point, so don't forget to tune in each week for those videos. Also, just a reminder from the beginning, if you're looking for games under $10, those are separate lists that I've already linked up above. As usual, any questions or comments are always welcome, and you can leave them down below in the description of the video. At the same time, once again, don't forget that if you want to support the channel, the best way is to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and also don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know when all the other videos come out. But as usual, I hope I'll see you in my next video.